We're going to hit record on this and we're going to get started. I trust you can all see my screen. And we're ready to go. So you can see my screen there, and it is the 6th of the 6th month in 2018, and we're ready for today's Zoom call. Today we're going to get right at it because we've had a couple requests of people that have said if it's possible to try to keep these at our promised half hour. Actually, when we originally started doing these, we said they were going to be 15 minutes, and they keep getting longer and longer, and I do apologize for that. They're getting to be over an hour long. So let me just jump right into this. Things to watch for coming up. We're going to have what's called a 7-day soul cleanse. Quite honestly, after I started writing this and putting it together, it's a lot longer than 7 days, so I might have to change the title of that, but that remains to be seen. That'll be coming up. Another thing, we have a whole bunch of new data on anemia and cancer that I've been studying about. That's very interesting information, since it's very difficult to deal with anemia of chronic disease. I'm actually going to put a video together that I'll post up on Facebook prior to next week's Zoom call, and then maybe answer some questions that anybody might have after they watch that video. Because what has been called anemia of chronic disease, that's a type of anemia in the medical textbooks, is very common with cancer patients and other people that are very ill. But with cancer patients, the reason is another reason. With other people that are very ill, they can have internal bleeding causing anemia of chronic disease, like an internal hemorrhage or a chronic gastritis where they have a bleeding ulcer. That would be an anemia of a chronic disease. That's a slow bleeder that you can't really find out where it is. But with cancer, it's usually not a bleed. It's usually because the cancer is gobbling up iron, causing anemia. Well, there's some new data that I'm discovering that we can really help those people, because it's always been a super, super sticky spot. Because if we give those people a bunch of iron, then the cancer just gobbles it up, and you're basically feeding that person's cancer when you're trying to treat the anemia. But you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, because the patient has anemia, and then how do you treat the anemia? They have low red blood cell count, and you're trying to build that up in a low hemoglobin, and you give them iron, but it can actually end up feeding the cancer. So we're really stuck. But there's some new data that's really cool, that's really exciting, that we're starting on some patients before I get the video out, but we'll have that out very soon. Whole bunch of new information that I'm going to be putting together for my Cancer Genes series as well. So watch for some new videos on the cancer genes that I'm discovering, with new genes that can relate to different pieces that add to the cause of a person's cancer and can really help a person deal with cancer. So even though we might have done your genetic review already, there's new things that I'm finding out all the time. So we may want to talk again about your genes when you watch some of these videos. Other questions that people have sent in that I want to go over before I open it up for questions. Question that we commonly get is timing of supplements. There are certain supplements that I recommend that does require specific timing, meaning that you want to take them at a specific time of day or at a specific time of the day around what you're doing as far as food intake. Meaning that some supplements it's okay to take with food, some supplements you want to take on an empty stomach. Some supplements you want to take a couple of hours after. Other supplements, some supplements you want to take right in the morning. Some you want to take at night before you go to bed. Some you want to take on an empty stomach. So that does get very confusing. But if I've recommended a supplement to you and I haven't given you any data about you want to take this on an empty stomach, or this is a homeopath, so you're taking this away from any time you have mint in your mouth, or this is an enzyme that we're using to help digest your cancer, so we want to take this on away from food for about an hour away from food, or this is a supplement we're trying to get your liver to flush in a phase 2.5, phase 3 purpose. So we want to take this after the bitters supplement. If I didn't give you that data, then it doesn't matter when you take the supplement. So just so you know, if I didn't give you specific data on when you should take a supplement, then it really doesn't matter whether you take the supplement with food or not. Most of the supplements that we use are food-based supplements. So does it matter if you take it with food or not? Not really. Not really. So is it sometimes better to take them outside of food so you don't quote unquote water down the supplement? Maybe, but everybody's different. Sometimes people take supplements on an empty stomach that are good food-based supplements, so it shouldn't make any difference if they take them on an empty stomach, but they get a tummy ache from them. So you're going to have to try that yourself. Not everybody is the same. So if I didn't give you specific data on when to take it, you can take it any time of the day. Facebook rules. We're getting a lot more people, a lot more patients on our Facebook page, which is wonderful. We do have some rules. Now, I'm not stating these rules because anybody's broken any rules, because they haven't. Matter of fact, I think Tashina posted something and she said, I'm not sure if this is right to post this. It was about another individual that has cancer that she knows, and that's fine to post things like that, that you want somebody, we're a family. And if we want to be praying for someone, that's really great. Do remember, though, this Facebook page is primarily for our patients. So though I appreciate it if you post something like that, or I appreciate it if you post maybe a question about your loved one or about your child, understand that's not really what this is for. So the Facebook page is for those who paid for a full plan. So that's really what the purpose of it's for. So try to keep to your personal questions and your personal things that would inspire others on the board, and think of it that way. We don't want it just to become a random Facebook page either. So I'm not saying anything bad about anything that was posted up to this point in time. We just want to keep in mind that piece, that it's for all of our patients. Facebook questions. This is, again, the Facebook page is for you to ask questions. So, and I purposely created it for there to be interaction. I want you to be answering each other's questions. And we see that all the time. What a blessing it is. So everybody's answering other people's questions. And I do notice that, like on the essential oils question, some people are very educated. They've been doing essential oils for a long time. Mike is one of those people, and he's posting things on the essential oil page, some different ideas on what a person could do. And then he always puts in there very professionally, please check with Dr. Connors about this for you, and I thank you for that. That should just be a without saying. We're not advocating, nor can the clinic advocate anything anybody else is doing, even a recipe that they're using. It might not be valid for you. Make sure that you're checking your binder, that a recipe that somebody else posts is not necessarily something you can eat. Everybody's on a different diet. An essential oil that might be great for one person might not be great for another person. So I don't want you as patients to not give your great insight to other people, but I also don't want you to have to type in a little caveat that please ask Dr. Connors first. That should just be a given. So I want you to give your knowledge to other people, but I also want that other person who's reading it to know enough, to have enough common sense to know that, boy, if maybe this isn't what I should do, and to ask me and my opinion, and to make sure you look at the rules that we gave you with your diet to see if it fits as well. And then our DNA kit is in. So we know that a lot of people did the 23andMe, and remember, our software changed, so we can read the 23andMe data. So if you already did the 23andMe, you do not need to do our new DNA kit. But if you have not done the 23andMe yet, then we want you to do our DNA kit. So contact our office if you have not done the 23andMe and you're ready to do a DNA kit and we want to get that done. Now that DNA kit is to measure SNPs, single nucleotide polymorphisms. Those are genetic defects or genetic variants that we want to look at that have to do with cancer genes. That's what we're talking about in my book here. Different things in your genes that can be a piece of the cause of your cancer and can be the piece of the cure for your cancer. So we want to get everybody's genetics run. So if you haven't had your genetics, either 23andMe or our kit, make sure you contact our office so we can get a kit out to you. Now, I know Jen has called multiple people, everybody on the list, and quite honestly did not hear back from the vast majority of those people she left messages with. So if you're on this call and you have not had your DNA run, it's time to do that. Get a hold of the office so we can get a kit out to you. And then lastly, we had a number of IvyGene tests coming back in, people doing it for their second, third, and even fourth time. And we're starting to see these trends. Now, that's where the beauty of the IvyGene comes in. It's one thing to get an IvyGene score, and great, I have a score of 32. Well, I don't know what my score was before. So am I trending up or am I trending down? How is this going? I just don't know. But when you start to get your second and your third test back, and if we're trending up, then we need to do some tweaking of what we're doing. If we're trending down, then we are on the right track and we're doing the right things. Even though you might still be struggling with a lot of things, we know that the cancer is starting to arrest. So remember what the IvyGene is measuring. The IvyGene is completely different than the DNA kit, even though this is a DNA test. So the DNA kit, or the 23andMe, or our DNA kit, is measuring genetic defects or variants on different genes. The IvyGene test is measuring free cell DNA, means circulating cells. It's measuring circulating tumor cells. And on those circulating tumor cells, it's measuring are the oncogenes, those are the genes that stimulate cancer growth, are they turned on? And are the tumor suppressor genes, those are the genes that suppress a tumor, that turn off a cancer, that slow a cancer, are they turned on or off? So the higher the IvyGene score, that means the more of your oncogenes are turned on and the fewer suppressor genes are turned on. And the lower the score, the more oncogenes are turned off and the tumor suppressor genes are turned on. So we want the tumor suppressor genes to be upregulated, to be turned on. We want the tumor oncogenes to be downregulated or turned off. That has to do whether they're methylated or not. So not to get too technical, we want a lower score. So we want our score to trend down. So if it's trending up, we need to tweak some things. Now, plus or minus 5, 6, 8 points, not too worried about that. It can bounce around a little bit, depending upon your stress levels, depending upon your diet, depending upon what you're doing as far as nutrition goes, other things that are going on in your life, stimulation of your immune system, suppression of your immune system. These are all things that can cause cancer to grow or could cause cancer to slow. So as we look at this over multiple tests, we want to look at the trend. So we had another question just come in, random question. Is there anything unhealthy about popcorn if made on a stove with coconut oil? Great question. Is popcorn good for you or bad for you? Well, number one, is it organic popcorn or is it regular popcorn? If it's regular popcorn, it's going to be genetically modified corn. So there is 0 good things for you in genetically modified corn. So period. Oh no, it's organic popcorn with coconut oil. Well, that's good then, right? Well, corn is a grain. Remember, it's not a vegetable. Corn is a grain. It's not a vegetable. So it's simply carbohydrates. Is there any value in eating corn? No. Matter of fact, corn can also be a highly sensitive thing, meaning there's probably the most food sensitive thing that, I mean, most common food sensitivity is gluten, dairy, soy, and corn. Maybe I could think of a few other things. So is there any value in corn? Is there anything, but the question was, is there anything unhealthy about eating, let's put in organic popcorn, if made on a stovetop with coconut oil? No, if that's could be your snack and that's going to be your little snack for the day, then go for it. I don't want to knock it because that could be, we're searching for something to eat here, right? But don't call it something that's good for you. So this is going to be your cheat snack. You're going to have a little popcorn with some sea salt, and it's organic, and you made it with coconut oil, so you're getting a good fat with it. So there's nothing really wrong with it. Just make sure you don't have any sensitivity issues to corn. How would I know that? Well, you can run a test. There's some different blood tests that we can do if you really want to know if you have any corn sensitivities, if you have any antibodies to corn and corn, different proteins in corn. But you can also notice, do I get a tummy ache after I eat it? Does it bother me? Do I get a headache? Do I get stuffy after it? So you can notice if I have any symptoms after eating corn as well. But otherwise, no, go ahead and have that. Understand it's a carbohydrate. It's not a protein. It's not a vegetable. All right, we are going to open this up and unmute everybody and open it up for questions. Any questions?
Dr. Connors, hi. It's Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Nagel. I have a question just about the different forms of B12. The one I have for you is the hydroxycobalamin. And what's the difference in, like, there's a liquid one out there that's called Vegan Safe, and it's a methyl and a ADEN, another cobalamin.
Okay, so I'm going to mute everybody. So if everybody's going to be muted while I answer this, okay? All right, so there's several different forms of B12. There's hydroxycobalamin, there's adenosylcobalamin, and then there's methylcobalamin. So those are the three quote-unquote natural forms of B12. There's other forms of B12 that aren't natural. Cyanocobalamin is one of them. There's a few other ones. But the three that are found in the human body are hydroxycobalamin, adenosylcobalamin, and methylcobalamin. What's the difference in them? The difference is how hard they push different pathways. So I don't know if I can find, because I am not at the computer that I normally have my genetic pictures on there, so I can't pull it up right now. But they're the main pathways that we're looking at is the methionine pathway, the folate pathway, and the biopterin pathway. Not to get too technical, but taking in too many methyl groups can be harmful. So we want to be careful. Remember, I said if you watched any of my genetic videos and we've gone over your genetics, that you have two main purposes in life. One is to make ATP and one is to make methyl groups. Well, that part of making methyl group is all about balance. So one of the major mistakes with doctors that are looking at genetics and they're kind of novices looking at genetics, they'll look at especially the folate pathway and look at the MTHFR gene and go, oh my goodness, you have a defect in your MTHFR gene. We're going to give you methylfolate and methylcobalamin because that will help that pathway. Will it help that pathway? Yes, it will. It will push that pathway very strongly. And is that good for a cancer patient or any patient as looking at the big picture? It can be very harmful, especially for a cancer patient. So when we talk about tumor suppressor genes and tumor oncogenes and the IvyGene test, what is the IvyGene test measuring? It's measuring whether these tumor suppressor genes are turned on or turned off. What does that mean? It means whether they're methylated or not. Oh, well, what does methylation do to a gene? Methylation turns a gene off. Oh, is that good or bad? It depends on what gene we're talking about. Well, don't we want our tumor oncogenes to be turned off? Yes, we do. But if you're just going to take a whole bunch of methyl products, you are also contributing to overmethylation and turning off tumor suppressor genes. So it's not as simple as, oh, we have a deficiency here, so we're going to take this product, or we have a defect here, so we're going to take this product. You can't treat the gene that way. And you can't treat an anemia that way. If I have a B12 anemia, it, it most frequently has nothing to do with whether I have enough B12. It's whether the B12 can get into the cell. So you don't want to give a methyl B12, you want to give a hydroxy B12 or an adenosyl B12 because you don't want to push that methyl pathway. And then it even gets more technical. If we give a lot of methyl products in methylfolate products or methylcobalamin products, we will push what's called the biopterin pathway. And the biopterin pathway is the pathway that makes neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters, that's what's going on in my brain, right? Yes, it is. So the brain neurotransmitters, epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine, and serotonin, all are being made through that biopterin pathway. If I'm going to push that pathway, I'm going to upregulate the production of those neurotransmitters, which can be a bad thing. So, an upregulation of my dopamine because I'm taking a bunch of methylcobalamin or methylfolate is going to make me a lot more agitated, a lot more ADD, ADHD person. If upregulation of my serotonin is not going to make me more happy, it's going to make me more angry. So remember, everything in my body is about balance. There's not really a bad guy and a good guy. It's about that balance. And when we artificially disturb that balance with not understanding biochemistry, like giving too many methyl groups, we can really throw things off. So we don't want to give a lot of methyl groups to cancer patients. We don't want to give a lot of methyl groups to anybody with mood issues or hormone imbalance issues, any type of anxiety issues, any type of ADD issues, any type of OCD type issues. You got to really be careful with those people. So no cancer patients really get methyl groups. Sometimes I've allowed you, if you came to me and you're taking a methyl B12, but it's a really low dose, like 500 micrograms, I say, fine, you could take that. But if you're taking more than 1,000 micrograms of methyl B12, then you're really starting to push that pathway. So it is very important the type of B12 and the type of folate that you're using. That's why it's always better to get things through your food. If you noticed, when I've done your genetics and looked at your folate pathway, even if you had a MTHFR defect, I'd say I'd rather have you push that pathway naturally through eating a lot more leafy green vegetables than give you a folate product or a methyl product. Okay, I'm going to unmute you. And if you asked a question in the last 2 minutes, I didn't hear it, so.
Thank you.
Dr. Connors, this is Deb Swartz. I just got back my arterial scanning, whatever, to see if you have blood clots and whatever. But anyway, they said I had the beginning of osteoporosis. I'm confused about various vitamin Ks that help you absorb vitamin D into your bone to slow that down.
Okay.
Can you discuss those?
Sure, I'm going to mute everybody and I'll discuss that too. Okay, so there are multiple different types of vitamin K. So the first vitamin K that they tend to talk about is the vitamin K1, which is the vitamin K that helps in clotting. And they tell you if you're on because you had a stroke risk or a blood pressure issue, and they have you on a blood thinner, don't take any vitamin K products, and don't eat a lot of green leafy vegetables that have vitamin K in them, because that's going to, you know, make null the fact that you're taking this anti-clotting medication. And is there truth to that? Yes, there is truth to that, except one thing. Really, what they're talking about, though they never delineate this, it's the vitamin K1 factor that really is the clotting factor vitamin. So if you have clotting issues where you're forming a lot of clots, then you shouldn't take vitamin K1. If you have bleeding issues where you have constant nosebleeds and you can't stop that nosebleed, or when you do bleed, you don't clot very well, and you're bruising constantly and you're not clotting. Now, if you're not on an anticoagulant medication, then you probably are deficient in K1. Now, it's pretty hard to be deficient in K1, though I've had numerous patients that were, because they were like allergic to vegetables in their mind. They weren't really allergic to vegetables, but they didn't like to eat vegetables. Yes, I've had patients that never, ever, ever ate vegetables. Those are the people that will be deficient in K1, and they will have frequent nosebleeds and frequent issues. Now, there's a whole bunch of things that could cause that other than K1 deficiencies, but I've had a few patients over the years that actually had a K1 deficiency. But K1 is not the vitamin K that gets vitamin D into the bones and prevents osteoporosis. It's vitamin K2. So vitamin K2 is what helps prevent osteoporosis. Matter of fact, we have heard over the years that you should, if you got osteoporosis, you should be taking vitamin D and you should be taking calcium. Well, the truth is that if you're deficient in vitamin K2, which is very difficult to get through our food, if you're deficient in K2, then you could take a whole bunch of D and a whole bunch of calcium, and you'll probably just get hardening of the arteries. Matter of fact, there's been multiple studies show that women, and the studies were on women, I'm sorry, that were on 1,500 milligrams, the prescribed dose of calcium for multiple years. They have a multifold increase in risk of atherosclerosis. So they have increased hardening in the arteries, increased heart attack, coronary artery disease risk, big time. So then they thought, oh, goodness sakes, better pull that idea off. Don't recommend calcium. Calcium is no longer recommended. So if your doctor is recommending an increased high dose calcium to prevent osteoporosis, he's not reading the literature, because he's not supposed to be recommending that anymore. The recommendation is supposed to be increase K2. Now, the problem is it's very difficult to find a good source of K2 unless you're Japanese and you're eating natto. So we're not talking about natto enzyme or natto kinase. We're talking about natto, the food, which is a fermented soy. Now, if you've not ever eaten natto, I wouldn't suggest you run out to your natural Japanese restaurant and get some, because it is an acquired taste. It is the most nasty, horrible thing I've ever tasted in my life, to be honest with you. But I think if you ate it since you were 2 years old, you'd probably acquire a taste. Matter of fact, areas in Japan, it's only certain areas in Japan that still eat natto. Their incidence of heart disease, their incidence of cancer is reduced. Their incidence of osteoporosis is almost zero. Matter of fact, I was going to do a video on vitamin K2 here this week too, so I'll get more of this information out. So it's kind of funny that you asked me about this right now. But vitamin K2 is a product. We changed our vitamin D to add K2 to it. So our own private label brand of vitamin D liquid droppers has K2 in it now. And by next week, we're going to actually have a product of straight K2 with the all food-based vitamin A and vitamin D and CoQ10 in it that I'm going to start taking. I bought it for me first because it is so interesting, this data, and I'm going to put out a video on the fat-soluble vitamins and the reason why we need them, because our food is almost completely depleted of them. So it's very difficult to get it in. But it is vitamin K2, Deb, that you need. It's in the Connors Clinic brand vitamin D liquid dropper. That's the only way I have it right now. I would be careful with some other brands. And I don't mean to be nitpicky, but I'm going to be super nitpicky here. The type of vitamin K2 that you have to have, now this gets a little technical, but you go back to your biochemistry class and organic chemistry class, certain things had a cis and a trans form. Cis, C-I-S, or trans, T-R-A-N-S. That's the configuration of the protein at the end of the molecule. And you have to have vitamin K2 in a specific form. And when there was done some independent labs on some vitamin K2, now the way you'll see it labeled is vitamin K2 MK4 or MK7. MK4 and MK7 are both good forms of vitamin K2. Either one of those are great forms of vitamin K2. The problem is it has to be in a specific form. And if it's in the wrong form, then, which is a lot cheaper to make, it's basically worthless to the human body. So you really have to have a product that has been independently tested. There was one product on the market that boasted so much, I can't remember the dosage of vitamin K2 that was in it, and it was independently tested, and then all of a sudden they sold it at a high discount and to sell them out because it wasn't what was really on the label. So be careful of that too. So I will be posting a video about the other product that we have, but the one product that we have that private labeled is independently tested. Okay, I'm unmuting everybody. Hopefully that answers your question, Deb.
Yeah, can I ask one additional? They recommended to get your kidneys function tested. Do we truly need that?
It depends on the person. Is it good to get a kidney function test if you have some problems? Then yes, it is. Is it imperative that every single person gets every lab test out there and a kidney function test? No. If your urine output is good and you don't have any flank pain and you don't think that you have stones, I don't think it's necessarily to go get a kidney function test.
Okay.
Dr. Connors, it's Patty in Nebraska.
Hello, Patty.
Hello there. I'm doing very well and very pleased with that. And it's coming on the 3 months to get my thermal scan done again. I have found a provider in Lincoln or Omaha, Nebraska. Just depends where I could get the appointment. How do I have a physician here order? Do I have them call you for the order? I wasn't sure how that might work.
You could have them call us. Most of the thermography labs don't need a physician's order, but if they need one, they can call us and we'll give that to them. Just make sure it's a Meditherm clinic.
Say it again.
Make sure they're using the Meditherm equipment.
Okay, it was the same company.
Okay,
I Googled it through what is in my scan.
Okay, perfect. That's good.
From the clinic. So it's I can't believe it's going to be 3 months, and I feel better than most healthy people.
Well, that's good because you are a healthy person.
That's what I think.
That's right.
That's half the battle. But yeah, so it's going well. I'm just pretty pleased.
Oh, good. That's good. Like to hear those things.
Yeah.
Dr. Connor, for some of us who have like hair thinning from treatments, would you discourage any of the products that are claimed to help with like regenerate eyebrow or eyelash growth?
It depends on what it is. If it's like a keratin product, no, you could use that. There's some good products that can really, give thicker hair, and it's just using the minerals that are found in hair and the different nutrients that are found in hair. But we have a product that I think is called HSN Hair, Skin, and Nails, and I have to look at it because we haven't really used it for any cancer patients. So I have to look and see what the ingredients are. But there's other products out there. If you have a question about a product, just take a picture of the ingredients, and you can post it on the Facebook page, and I'll make a comment, yay or nay on it.
Okay. Most of these are like something to put on topically on the eyebrow area.
Oh, well, I'm not familiar with those, so let me know what they are.
Okay.
Dr. Connors,
Uh-huh.
this is Terry Joe. I have a question about the K2, K1. I've been taking K2 to go along with my cod liver oil, the fermented cod liver oil.
Yep.
And it looks, but I'm also having bleeding from my tumor. Sometimes quite scary. So I'm thinking,
Well, we might need to add some K1.
yeah, so just keep taking the K2, but add the K1 too.
So the K2 does not thin your blood, but it's not really going to help the clotting so much.
Okay. I'm going to go out and get some K1. Now, I've been taking Life Extension.
Okay, so that, I hate to say it, and we'll have to, this won't go out to the general public, but Life Extension was the company that got nailed.
Okay.
The K2 that was in there was all the wrong K2.
Okay.
But
Well,
usually I like their products. Most of their products I really like, but it's, this is where it gets back to what's on the label isn't always what's in the product, and you have to, that's why I've toured almost every place of the companies that we sell products, because if they're not doing their own lab work on stuff that comes in, that's why sometimes we're back ordered on stuff, because the company that I get it from, they got a shipment in and they tested it and they rejected the whole shipment. So it goes all back to the source, and then they're back ordered on it. So
is there one that I can go out and buy?
we're going to have this other higher level K2 in. I ordered it last week. They were out of it until they were hoping to get it in this week, and then they're going to ship it out. So it probably won't ship out from them to us until like tomorrow or Friday. So we probably won't get it till next week. The K2 that we have in our vitamin D is lower, but now we're talking about the K2, not K1 here.
Right.
So
Next question.
the K1 I think is safe to find most brands out there. It's the K2 that's the important one.
Okay.
To make sure you get the right form.
Because I need the K2 because I'm also bordering on osteoporosis.
Yeah. Well, we're going to find when I do this video that it's a lot more than osteoporosis that can really help with cancer as well. So
awesome.
Can you give us a dose on the vitamin K2?
Well, it really depends. So we're going to actually have a K2 test, but the hyperdose on K2 is important to begin with, and then you drop the dose down. So like our dose that's in the vitamin D is only, what is it? I think it's 50 micrograms, which is not even close to a hyperdose. A hyperdose is like 2,000 micrograms. So how can you get that? You can't even get it through my vitamin D. That's why I went to this other product to be able to hyperdose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Connors,
Uh-huh.
it's Lisa again. What's so ironic is I literally today at my dentist just bought a vitamin D spray from her. and it's by Physica, and it's a D, and the K2 is menaquinone 7.
So menaquinone is shortened as MK. So you'll either get an MK4 or an MK7, and that's just fine. So that's good.
Okay, and it's
We just don't
120
know.
micrograms.
We just don't know if it's a cis or a trans. So we're just going to trust that they put the right stuff in there.
Okay, well, next time I'm gonna get yours, but
Yeah.
I can't believe this question came up and I just bought it.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. So we will get this posted up on Facebook probably tonight. And make sure you use Facebook correctly. Get your questions up there. And if you have questions about a supplement, just like Lisa, just take a picture of the back of it so I can see the ingredients and post a picture up there. And that will help a lot of people. So,
Okay.
all right. Thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Klein.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
Dr.